everyone, Karen the Warp Spinster here. Thanks for joining me on my channel today. Welcome. At the outset, I want to apologize for the little finger on my right hand. I will try to keep it out of frame as much as possible. I was repairing some loose steps on the stairs on my retaining wall, which are made of a construction block, and in the process of putting the block back on, I smashed my little finger between it and the wall of the steps. So that was well, it's not attractive on its own. Let me just say that. But I realized late last night, that it really felt best if I had it straight and even a little bit hyperextended at the tip. So I didn't have a splint at home, so I sort of did a makeshift splint, which I realize is just ridiculous and ugly, but I'm feeling like MacGyver because I used a plastic spoon and a Tic Tac, which I put in between the spoon and the tip of my finger just to hyperextend it a little bit. You know, you use what you've got, and duct tape and black duct tape was what I had. I thought about putting some stickers on it for you guys, but I thought maybe that would just make it even worse. So I will try to keep that part off frame, but that's what happened. All right, today I want to do some work with circles because, of course, I love circles. And I thought maybe I'd do one that could potentially be part of the Alice Wondering quilt, which, you know, Alice is still wondering. I don't know how long she's going to be wondering, but it will be a while longer. So I have this fabric, which is, I'm thinking that it's a Moda, but it has quotes from Alice in Wonderland. So we're all mad here, drink me well. Anyway, lots of quotes from Alice in Wonderland. And then I thought, well, I don't know what I plan to do. Then I would have to try to match this in some fashion, and maybe something this bold is going to be too difficult. So then I thought, well, I can use something that it won't be as obvious when I have to do a seam and not be able to match things. I suppose I could if I had enough fabric match it, but not doing it. So when I was doing Alice, I thought I'll do some red with it. When I changed my mind and thought I'd do this, I chose a teal blue, and now I am back to this because I think that I can manage it well enough. It's not going to match exactly, but I think I can manage it so that it's going to not be too obvious when I have to do a seam. Some of the seams won't matter, but a couple of them will. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do this, and we'll see how it goes. So having a limited number of digits now, how I can move them, I'm just going to do a simple applique. I'll have like a large block of this, and then just do a fused circle on here, and then I'll come back and we'll see what I plan to do with it. Here is our circle. I just did a simple zigzag stitch in invisible thread. Of course, there are many other options, which we'll talk about and maybe explore a little bit later. But my plan is to slice and shift, which I do a lot, as you know. Now, I could do very even here, so I would do vertical lines here and then another one there, but that's not my plan. I want it to be reasonably random. I'm going to, well, I'll show you why. I don't want it to be too close to the edge of the circle, partly because I think that probably wouldn't be as interesting. And I probably don't want it right in the middle, because I probably won't be right in the middle, and then it will look like I tried and missed. And I'm going to make two cuts here because threes. We like threes. So I'm going to do one about here, and I do want this to be a vertical line. And then do another one at a random place somewhere else. They could be about equal, but don't need to be. Going to line this up. Now, the background looks as if it's wavy because the text on it is wavy on purpose. All right, now I have these, and I want to do some shifting. and then insert a strip in between. If I want this to turn out looking like a circle that has been shifted and with, I don't know, if I want it to still resemble a circle proportionally, then I would cut strips 1 inch, and they would finish at 1/2 inch, which makes up for the 1/4 inch here and the 1/4 inch here that would that are lost to the seam. So then it would be finished 1/2 inch here. I don't know that I'm going to do that. With it split like this, I'm not sure it matters. But let's do this first one where we follow that. And then on the next one, we'll do something a little crazier. So now I just need to think about how I want to shift these. I can shift them like that, but I really prefer it to be an uneven thing, asymmetrical kind of thing. So something more like that. Do I want it uplifted on the right or on the left? And I think I will do this. Now, when I insert these strips, am I going to end them there, or like right here, or am I going to want them to extend the entire way, in which case I would add something on here so that it will be the same length as that. Now, I can sort of fake it well enough, I think, on this that it won't be so obvious that there's a seam down here. So down here, I can, yeah, I think I can manage. It's wavy, so life is going to be interesting anyway, putting this together, but I think that will work fine. So this one needs one down here, this needs a larger one down here, and this one needs, oh, this one also needs one at the top. I should have made this smaller so that it all fits in frame. It will need more at the top to match up with this. Let me just zoom out. You get to see more of my messy desk space. So I am going to proceed to do that, and it's okay if I just do this roughly as long as I have enough. I can have them be a little wider than they need to be, but, or taller, or however you want to look at it, but I can make them longer just to be sure, and then we'll insert some strips here. I'm thinking about, here's the thing. We want one strip here and one strip here. So we aren't adding a strip to each one. I could add, no, I think I want a strip that is going to cover all of this, and then if I want the strip to, say, up here, not go all the way to the top, then I could add another strip on at the top when I finish that. Let's just see how it goes. So I'll add a piece here and a piece here. Oh, but here's a thought. What if I want one strip to end here and one strip at the bottom, so that the strips are shifted too? Well, then the strips would have pieces at the top or bottom, right? Right. So I'm going to finish these out, and then all of these extras, so it becomes a rectangle at least, if not a square. And then we can change the length and the position of the inserted strips by adding background strips at the top and bottom, or neither, and have them go all the way to the bottom. It took me a while to work that out. You probably went and you probably figured it out a long time ago, went and made some coffee and came back again. I'm there now. These are now sized and cut evenly on the top and the bottom. You can't see it at the bottom, but it's even. I'm happier with some of the seams than others, but we're plain, so I'm not going to fuss about it too much. And it helps that the whole thing is wavy. All right, so now I get to choose strips to go in here. And of course, I always have to, oops, sorry. I can do black strips. I can do black and white striped strips. I could do a pink strip since this is my Alice quilt. I could do white, but I think that's not enough contrast with this background, which has an awful lot of white in it. I think, or I could split it and say do one that is black and pink. Give it kind of a, maybe a curve somewhere. Wouldn't that be interesting? I might do that. And then a black and white stripe. If I wanted to be just fairly elegant and reasonably traditional, considering I'm shifting a circle, then I would use probably just black. But I will do one as just black so we can see how that looks, but I think I will also do one that has a curve, and not necessarily a curve like this. It could be an angled curve. Does that make sense? It may not make sense. I'm sorry. All right. So let me get those strips cut, and we'll decide how long we want them. And then we will add the strips on to match. I don't know how well that all is going to match, but we're playing and we're learning. One thing I want to mention before we go further is that when it comes to piecing this, what I could have done alternatively is put this circle on a very much longer piece and then just trimmed off the leavings, I guess, rather than doing it the other way around. All right, here's a strip of black, which just happens to be the length of a scrap strip that I had. And so that will go in one spot, but I need to decide if I want it to go all the way to the top. Probably won't because of the length of the strip, although it can all be trimmed at the end. And then do I want it to go all the way to the bottom? I'm sort of feeling as if for this one, I am going to make it go all the way to the bottom. This reaches the bottom edge, and then have it shorter up here. And it could be very much shorter. Well, let me just pull it down. You can't see the bottom of it anyway. It could be very much shorter. I want it to cover both these circles. I want it to go beyond those edges. And then this one, I think I want to have going to the top here, but not all the way down to the bottom here. And it will have a, well, I guess it'll be the other way around, because I want to do the pink strip over on the other side. So I'm going to do the pink and black over here. And that one will be to the top, but not all the way to the bottom. I think I've got that figured out. So I'm going to need to add a piece up here so that it extends to the top. And then that piece will be ready to insert. This one, I need to piece the curve in first. And when I cut this strip, I'm going to cut it wider than the 1 inch that I cut here, because the curve will very likely throw things off a little, because it's going to be a freehand curve where the seams aren't built in. So I will go ahead and piece that and put the other piece on there, and we'll see where we're at. These are cut. I still need to trim this piece, and then I will trim it overall because I don't have the edges even down here. But I will trim this pink. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I cut the pink and the black both at 2 inches, did a pretty steep curve, and was fine with cutting it to 1 inch to be the final. Now, in the end, this is going to be barely a curve, so it was probably more work than was needed, but we'll talk a little bit more about this after I get it together. So I'm going to piece these and then come back with the finished product, I hope. here is our finished piece. There are things that I like about it and things that I don't, and please feel free to share your favorite things and things you might do differently in the comments. We're all exploring here, and it's nice to have other people's thoughts. That's one of the great things about having you all here with me. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your kindness and tact when you are doing that as well. What I like about it is the split and the shift. I like this partly pink, partly black. This showed more of a curve than I thought it would, although may or may not be worth it. I wish the black strip here was a little shorter. And I like the colors. I like having a black and white background. I'm not best pleased with this one because when the letters are going like that, it makes the whole thing look off. Now, once it's in a quilt with other things, that may mitigate that. But me looking at it right now, it's like, wow. I am going to have to call this. I'd hope to do some more exploring, but I'm going to have to call it a day. I have already hit my poor little finger 3 times. And I had some skin cancer removed from my leg a couple of days ago and got a bunch of stitches. I keep banging that into my wastebasket. I don't care where I move the wastebasket. When I get in my klutzy phase, I go all in. And I happen to be in one of those. And my neighbor just turned on some equipment, which I think is going to bother you. And in short, this is going to be shorter than usual. And I apologize for that. Next week, though, let's explore some more of the same split circle concept. But we can look at things like making these wider, different fabrics, doing them in a diagonal, maybe, I don't know. Alice, of course, can have lots more embellishment on her, and maybe that could sort of help to mitigate some of this waviness, which is the point of the fabric. It's just, it doesn't work so very well here. And I forgot something I was going to say. Something about Alice. Oh, yes. And then we also might do something different to begin with to applique the circle on. So lots of things to think about next week. Again, please put in your ideas in the comment section and we'll see how many we get and what we end up with when we try those things. We may make just one massively wow piece that has all the ideas in it, and we'll see what happens. I'm just standing here thinking, if we did a black and white stripe here, would that be too... I really like that contrast with this black and white background, though. I think it needs a really solid division there. What do you think? Maybe that's something we can look at next week, too. Anyway, until next week when we do so... Oh, you know what? I shouldn't say this to you because then you won't be able to unsee it, but does this not look like a lobster who's crawling forward? I haven't even taken any pain pills today and I'm rambling crazily. So until next week, be well, be safe, be happy, be quilting. Let's see if I could do this without tucking my little finger under. Peace out.